Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a bi-weekly horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
I am one of your co-hosts, Casey.
And I'm Sam.
And let's get screaming. We combined at the end. It worked. Yeah, I think that was smooth.
We nailed the landing.
Know what else nailed the landing?
What?
I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. I was hoping you would finish it.
Insidious.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah.
All of them?
Landing.
All of them. That's the
I just
question.
meant as a series, it nailed the ending. I think it nails the ending on most of the movies too, though, honestly. Like, the ending is usually the best part of these.
Yeah. I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Even in the worst ones, it's the best part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's because that's when you get the most Lynn Shay in most of them.
It's true. It is very true. It's the running theme of the franchise is Lynn Shay gets her most amount of screen time in the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Sam, we are here back with another episode of Screams from the Basement. What did we talk about? We talked about TV shows last time we were here on the show. That was a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
We got some good reception to that as well. I think we hit on some major nostalgia points with that one.
Yep. It was nice because we got to talk about things that we normally wouldn't get to talk about on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't get to talk about Bob's Burgers on this show much, but we got to talk Bob's Burgers, you know?
We did not. We don't ever get to talk about Boy Meets World. And know what we talked about?
We talked about Boy Meets World.
We talked about the best episode of Boy Meets World.
Yes. So if you didn't listen to last episode, which was 2 weeks ago,
yes,
you should, because it was a fun one.
Yeah, you should. You should, and you should also leave some more recommendations of non-traditionally spooky episodes of TV shows. I mean, we both talked about it. We each had at least one or two episodes that we're going to throw into like a Halloween rotation this October. So, throw some more of those suggestions out there.
Yeah, we're always looking for new stuff like that. And let us know what you want to hear us cover on the podcast too.
Yes, that too. We usually come up with, if we don't have something planned already, we usually come up with something on the show.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this before the show. I was curious, what do you think we're going to come up with for the next episode? Do we have something scheduled for the next episode?
I don't think so.
I know we have a couple ideas that we talked about. I don't know if we've said anything in stone yet.
Yeah, I don't think so. We've got, at the bottom of our show notes, we have like a whole page of episode ideas. Yeah. We could probably just play darts and figure out our next episode.
Yeah. I know a couple ideas. I know we're just jumping ahead in this show, but I'm doing some banter before we get into our main topic because because I don't have a whole lot of recent watches.
Yeah.
But two, there's some good ones in there. But two, I do want to figure out what we're going to do next time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I say that because, so full disclosure on this episode, this is a very me episode that I suggested.
That's true. Yeah.
Like this is full disclosure, the Insidious series, the Insidious franchise, whatever you want to call it. It's my favorite modern horror franchise. I love it very, very much. I've seen all but the first in the theater, including the most recent one. So, Sam, I'm going to leave it up to you what we cover next. I know a couple ideas we've thrown out. The Shark movies was one. I know is it Shark Week right now? Last week, maybe? It was, I don't know.
Maybe it was last week.
Who has cable anymore? And another one we've thrown out is doing some Wes Craven movies.
Yeah, which I've been itching. I almost threw on Curse the other day, actually, and My Soul to Take, and Red Eye. Wes Craven never stopped putting out bangers, guys.
I'm itching for Red Eye because I'm going to be in a Cillian Murphy mood after this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. God, he's so good. He's like the main reason I want to see Oppenheimer. Yeah. And
Josh Peck.
Josh Peck's in Oppenheimer?
Josh Peck is 100% Oppenheimer. The bomb is spherical! He better say that in the movie. Otherwise, why would you cast Josh Peck in the movie?
When the bomb explodes, he better very inappropriately come up to Cillian Murphy and be like, "Hug me, brother!"
Or they come up and ask him, "Who set this off?" Macon.
See, we still find ways to talk about Nickelodeon on this show.
Yeah, we will forever. I mean, look at our logo. Our logo looks like it's an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
So, Sam, I'm gonna give you an Oppenheimer countdown. Oppenheimer.
Oh, God.
Either one.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a countdown to the end of the episode, and maybe people that tune in, I'll leave a little comment. Let's see if that works. We are doing this live again. Okay. What topic should Sam pick for our next episode? Should I give him an option or just let them throw out ideas?
Let them throw out ideas. I want to hear people's thoughts, and I'm gonna mull over it while we talk about other movies.
This is your nuclear countdown.
This is my nuclear countdown.
Yes.
I'm gonna explode at
the show might blow up by the end. I don't know.
Hey, John, thanks for tuning in, man.
John is here before his inaugural episode of Unsupervised over on the Supercon channel. Shout out Unsupervised. Very excited for that. We're running head to head like WCW and WWF in 1998. So it's the new Monday Night Wars here. No, I'm kidding. Go check them out. I'm excited to listen.
Yeah, same. In fact, they might go longer than what we go. Because our tags are our times are a little staggered.
Yeah.
I might hop over on their onto their live video after we get done with ours.
Yeah. Sam. Yes. Let's jump into our first thing that we got going on in the show. We have no news, no toy box this week again. Come on, toy companies, get some more toys out there. We need stuff to talk about.
Yeah. So I get to ask my favorite question, Casey. What have you been doing lately?
What have I been doing lately? Not a whole lot. I mentioned at the top.
You've been doing a lot of me stuff from the show, like very Sam stuff from the show notes.
Oh, why is that?
Like 2/3 of your movies are just wonderful.
Our Sam movies. Yeah, definitely. First things first, just because I just got it in the mail as soon as I got home. I saw it sitting on the porch. Latest issue of Fangoria.
That Talk to Me cover's gnarly.
Yes, this is a gnarly cover. Talk to Me is on the front. Also featured, there's at least 2 articles that I've seen just flipping through it from Voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah.
It also has some satanic Hispanics, at least 1 article on that as well. Obviously haven't had a chance to dive into this yet. Literally just showed up in my mail this morning, but very excited to jump into that latest issue of Fango.
Hell yeah.
But besides getting a gory magazine in the mail, I've been watching a few movies. The first one I'll throw out there is a new release from this year. Finally had a chance to watch it. I know we talked very, very, very briefly about this on our car ride to Insidious 5 when story time. Sam got in the car. We picked up Sam to go watch Insidious 5.
And I was very bubbly and bright and talkative.
And I think you could tell there was just a vibe in the car.
Yeah, it was very quiet. I was taken off guard. I was like, this isn't the vibe that I usually feel like we have when we're rolling into a new horror movie that we're all excited about.
No, there was a vibe in the car. It was because we had literally 5 minutes before we left the house to pick you up, finished watching Brandon Cronenberg's latest Infinity Pool, which just came out earlier this year. It is streaming, I believe, on Hulu right now. This one stars one of the Skarsgårds, Alexander, I think. Yeah,
mm-hmm. Alex Skarsgård. Yeah, I want to see this.
And Mia Goth. I didn't love Possessor. That was his first film that came out a few years ago. Really liked it. Didn't fall in love with it. This one I'm leaning towards. I'm kind of falling in love with. It's not a movie that I'm not gonna. It's not a movie I'm gonna like next week. I'm like, God, I'm itching to watch Infinity Pool again. No, but it's one I am gonna recommend to people. It is a disturbing movie. It is what you expect from either Brandon Cronenberg at this time or David Cronenberg back in the day, or even now. I haven't watched Crimes of the Future. I need to get that one watched this year too. But this is it's a movie about rich people doing terrible things because they are rich people. And if that's something right up your alley, Infinity Pool is definitely a movie for you. Mia Goth is incredible. She's giving a wild, out there performance. Skarsgård is really great as well, in a very subdued performance in this. I like the overall kind of sci-fi aspect that is thrown into it. It's a movie that constantly keeps you guessing, and you're wondering what's going to happen next. I have seen some reviews calling it very slow or boring. I don't agree with that. I found myself constantly like wondering what's going to happen next, and I found like the slower pace lended itself to me questioning, okay, so now this just happened. What's going to happen after this? And yeah, I thought it was great. The one thing I thought it was funny that I alluded to at the end of watching it is we were talking about the ending, and the movie does sort of just ends. And the reason I thought of it is I've been watching a lot of Sunny. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And we had just got done watching the episode where the gang tries to write a movie. Mac and Charlie write a movie. And they go to Dennis for help.
Oh,
and
God.
What's the movie Dennis pitches?
It's the Dolph Lundgren.
It's the Dolph Lundgren movie. And what happens in the Dolph Lundgren movie?
He does Full Frontal.
Full Frontal, yes.
Yeah.
And when he's pitching it, it's crime, penetration. Crime, penetration. And then it just sort of ends.
Yep.
That's Infinity Pool. They made Dennis's movie, but it's not Dolph Lundgren, it's Alexander Skarsgård.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah. Andy Heller's in here. Andy, I know you watched Infinity Pool. I do believe. No, the air is not foggy because of the Sioux Falls air right now.
It's
maybe it might have been.
Spooky.
We're spooky. Yeah. What else? What else did I watch? Okay. Completely out of left field from Infinity Pool. Highly recommend. Go watch it. You're going to feel gross. You're going to need to take a shower after.
Oh, hello, Burton.
Oh, hi, Burton. I'm talking about not The Room, but another So Bad It's Good movie. The original So Bad It's Good movie. Plan 9 from Outer Space.
One of my all-time favorites.
So I had watched this. I think I've only watched this one other time before, and I didn't love it. Obviously.
Understandable.
I respected it for what it was, but watching it this time, this was after we watched Insidious 5. We went back to my place. Kayla and Dakota were there, and Dakota's like,
"This is what you followed up Insidious 5 with."
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yes, we did with Plan 9 from Outer Space. So Dakota, for some reason, I don't remember why he said it, but he's like, "I want to watch Plan 9 from Outer Space." I'm like, "All right, yeah, we're watching that." Dakota's not a person that loves watching bad movies, so if he is saying he wants to watch one, I'm jumping at it. So we watched it. And we had an absolute blast watching this movie. It is so bad. It is the definition of so bad it's good. It's never not entertaining. You're never not questioning what's happening in this movie. You're also never not questioning why so many choices were made, and they're all the wrong ones.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a right choice made in this movie.
There's a scene where you can literally see that one of the tombstones is just like a piece of like cardboard or foam or something, because it's literally like bent. It's so funny. I love that movie. It is the spirit of independent filmmaking distilled into like 90, not even 90 minutes, but like,
yeah, it's like 70 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel the love behind every frame. Like Ed Wood, bless his soul. He put his heart and his blood, sweat, and tears into this movie, and I love him for it.
Yeah, this like you said, it's the spirit of independent filmmaking, even more so because of the time frame it was made. Because nowadays anyone can make Plan 9 from Outer Space, but this came out in what 50?
I think 56.
56. That sounds right. Something like that. it wasn't just readily available for everyone and anyone to make a movie. You actually had to go out, have film cameras, have film stock. You actually had to have, you had to bring in actors and extras and have sets. And it wasn't just something you go shoot on a weekend. Though this movie kind of does look like that, but you have to put it in the time frame that this movie did come out. And just all the stock footage. I mean, I can't think of another movie that uses as much stock footage as Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yep. I was wrong, actually. It was shot in 1956.
Okay.
It did not get a wide release until 1959.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Plan 9 from Outer Space. This movie is a blast. If you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it in a while, get a couple buddies and get together and watch it. Maybe Sam and I will have to do. Remember our old, like, we used to do like movie night watch-alongs?
Watch-alongs?
Yeah. We didn't do this one, did we?
I don't think we did Plan 9.
We should do Plan 9.
We should do Plan 9 because Plan 9 rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you guys can literally find Plan 9 anywhere because it's in the public domain. So just, go to YouTube.
That's what we did.
Yeah, exactly.
You're probably going to find the best quality version of it on YouTube over like Tubi or Amazon.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, though. I did buy it for $5 on Vudu.
Does it look okay, though?
It does. It looks pretty good, actually. It's not bad. So.
And then we followed up Plan 9 from Outer Space with I call it its spiritual successor.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It is Tim Burton's Mars Attacks.
Yeah. It's him doing an Ed Wood movie.
Yep. It is him. This is the movie that directly follows him making Ed Wood.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of cashing in every favor he has in Hollywood at this point, and having every A-list celebrity of the mid-90s in this movie.
Yeah,
you have Jack Nicholson in dual roles as the president and this casino owner in Vegas. You have Michael J. Fox as a news reporter. You have Sarah Jessica Parker. You have Pierce Brosnan, Danny DeVito. Jack Black is in it. Natalie Portman is in it. There's like anyone you can think of that was a name in the 90s is in this movie. Except Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Except Johnny Depp.
Yeah. It's been so long since I've seen this one that I forgot that half of those people were in it. Oh. To be totally honest with you.
Glenn Close.
The cast was stacked. Oh my God, yeah. Glenn Close is in this thing. Like, this is truly one of the
Martin
best,
Short,
like, cash all your chips in type of movies. I love it. I don't know why I have not watched this recently. Like, I mean, it's been like probably a decade since I last saw this.
Oh, really?
But it's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, it's incredible. This is one of Kayla's favorite movies ever. And I mean, rightfully so. This movie's incredible. It's a 50s B movie with a 1990s studio budget behind it.
Yep.
Yeah. Mars Attacks rules. It's a perfect follow-up to watching them back to back is so interesting too. So I highly recommend, if you're going to watch Mars Attacks again soon, watch Plan 9 right before it.
Yeah, that's a great double feature.
Yeah. But that's it. That's all I've been doing. Sam, what about you? What have you been doing?
Well, I've been doing quite a bit. I had a first-time watch of House. Not the 77 Japanese one, which I'm going to say I prefer. I prefer the 77 Japanese one. I finally watched, is it from 85?
That sounds right.
Yeah, right? And it's Steve Miner directed it.
Yep.
I like Steve Miner movies. House did not entirely work for me. I liked half of this movie. The half that was not a Vietnam War movie.
Yeah.
It's very jarring back and forth.
It has a tonal whiplash.
Yeah, and like it kind of merges them at the end, and I'd say it does it at least moderately successfully. But like, man, there were just every time they flashed back to Vietnam, it kind of took me out of the movie, and I started tuning out of all the Vietnam stuff because I was just like, I don't know. This isn't the movie that I want. This isn't the movie I expected. Everything outside of that, I loved. I love that you get Norm from Cheers next door, George Wendt. He's so great in this movie. I liked William Catt in the lead role. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything beyond Carrie. I might have. He popped up in quite a bit.
I was gonna say he's
he was
usually
pretty
supporting
prolific
in quite a few things. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure I'm just not thinking of what I've seen him in. But yeah, I really liked him as a lead in this. I thought he was really good. Um, I loved how the movie played with reality and his sanity and all that. It's just I can't fully say I loved it because every time the Vietnam stuff happened, it just wrenched me right out of it. You know?
I get that. Yeah. This is this is a favorite in our house. This is one of Kayla's favorites. I haven't jumped into the sequels yet. I really want to. Our Prescribed Films podcast friends at Attack of the Killer podcast just talked about House 2.
Yeah.
And they said it's bonkers, wild, crazy. I'm like, okay, I'm excited to watch House 2.
Yep. It sounds cool. Shout out to that episode. It's a great one. So, So I liked House. I think if you like 80s horror, you should definitely like it's seminal. Watch it,
Poster's iconic.
Oh yeah. The poster's incredible. And you might like it more than me. I loved half of it, like I said. So I rewatched the first Phantasm because Maria caught parts of me watching Phantasm 2 and was like, maybe I need to give this series another shot. So we did, and she liked it a little more. I love this movie. I've only seen the first 2 Phantasm movies. I love them. I have the box set. I can't wait to get through 3, 4, and 5. I think Angus Scrimm as the Tall Man is one of the best horror villains that we have. I love it. So yeah, Phantasm rules. First time watch, I watched The Devonsville Terror on Shudder. It is a movie from...
What's this one called?
The Devonsville Terror.
Devonsville?
Yeah.
I have never heard of this.
So I hadn't either. It was on the newly added in Shudder, and it was it kind of was a Salem witch trials type of movie where years ago, this New England town burned these 3 witches. They put a curse on the town, and then years later, these 3 women arrive in town, seemingly unconnected to each other, but people start suspecting that they're witches, and they're the spirits of the witches coming back to take revenge.
So it's Hocus Pocus.
A little bit, but it's much more boring than that movie. Unfortunately, it needed something.
You needed a musical number?
Yeah, definitely. So the first act is just literally, set back in the settler times, and they're killing these 3 women that they think are witches in just brutal ways. In one, they tie her up to a big wagon wheel, and they just roll her down a hill. She's on the outside of the wheel tied up to it, and they roll her, and it's disturbing. And they do this for it's a good 20-minute sequence of them hunting down these witches and killing them. And so you're instantly all right, yeah, now we're going to the present day. We're going to see some witch revenge. And then that doesn't happen. It just starts all over again, and they do a slowed down version of that first 20 minutes where they just draw out the tension, and then they the townspeople start going against these women and trying to kill them. And then in the final minutes, you kind of get that little bit of revenge thing, but it's way too little, too late. It does not make a big impact. And I really wanted to like this movie a lot more. It tried to be I'll applaud it for being as old as it is and having the feminist themes that it does, but it didn't pull them off quite as well as I'd hoped.
What year is this movie?
I want to say it's late 70s.
It's an American movie, I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, it's 83. Never mind.
Oh, interesting.
It is 83.
Interesting.
It looks like a 70s movie. And I don't know. Light recommendation if you like that kind of stuff, but to me, it's not one of my favorite witch movies. I don't think it tells the story that it wants to tell particularly well. So, that's the Devonsville Terror.
We got a question first.
Oh, yes.
Have either of us seen Summer of '84 on Shudder? I have not.
Yes.
It's been on my watch list for a while. That
movie rules, and then it rips your guts out at the end. It is a very haunting ending. It takes a really like dark left turn with about 20 minutes left of the movie. And holy crap. Yeah. I still quite haven't recovered from it.
Okay.
But it's great. It's great. Yeah. It's it's one that has stuck with me over the years. That's and it's got great style, a really great score, like very synthy and throwback. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I've heard very good things. I need to get that one watched.
Yeah.
What else you got for Doobie doing?
Okay, so here's where I'm gonna lose our audience a little bit.
Oh no.
I watched the new Children of the Corn movie and I loved it.
Future Academy Award winner, Children of the Corn 2023.
Man. So this movie's baffling. It's not good. It decides it wants to be a different movie every 15 minutes. And it just asks you to go along with it for no reason. And if you do, you're going to have a blast. Like from a screenwriting standpoint, it's like it's kind of a train wreck. It's just a pile up of like weird choices. I'm gonna spoil something that happens in like the first just 3 minutes of this. I'm not kidding. We're like 3 minutes into the movie, and an orphanage gets gassed by cops. And it's a bizarre like what moment where it's like that's the first thing they thought of to do in this situation type of thing, and you're just it's baffling, and then it just like kind of moves on from that, and it's not really brought up again.
Hey, these children have dropped houses and thrown old ladies through windows. We need to stop them. They are menaces.
I suppose. But I don't know. We might just have to do an episode on this one.
We're gonna get to that one.
There's so much to dissect in it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It ups the level from there. Every 15 minutes, it kind of decides what to do, and it's something different. It changes from being like an environmental horror film to a creature feature to a cult film to like just a wide variety of things. But the one thing that makes this movie just tremendous from start to finish, the thing that hooked me and just kept me going, is Kate Moyer, who plays Eden, the psychopathic little girl who essentially runs the Children of the Corn. She's bringing like this chaotic energy where you don't really know what she's going to do next. All of her acting choices are tremendous for someone who is, I think, like 11 or 12 when they filmed this. Like, she's great. She's going places. I wish she had a better script to back her up because her motivations change every couple of scenes, but holy crap, does she pull it off. So I'm actually going to recommend the new Children of the Corn. It is indeed pretty cool. I'm going to recommend it, and your mileage may vary. That's all I'll say about it. But yeah, definitely check out the new Children of the Corn. So we missed Joe Bob 2 weeks ago for a really cool video shoot that I'm very excited to share with everybody when that comes to fruition. But I did watch Joe Bob Friday night. He did a double feature of Alligator and Grizzly. I've seen both of these movies. I thought I had not seen Grizzly. Then I realized that I had indeed logged it about 6 months ago on Letterboxd. So
you forgot about a grizzly bear horror movie?
Yeah, I guess I did. But I do got to tell you, I like as obviously forgettable as Grizzly is, I do like this movie. I did fall asleep halfway through the Joe Bob presentation, but that was because it was late, not because I wasn't totally invested in a bear ripping people apart.
Yeah. That's because it's 1 a.m. at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Alligator is one of my favorites. I think I've even talked about Alligator on this show.
Yeah,
I probably have. Yeah. Alligator Rules. You should definitely check it out. Check out the Joe Bob presentation of it because it's Joe Bob presentation. Joe Bob rules. And yeah, I love this double feature. This might have been my favorite episode of Joe Bob so far this season that I've seen. I have a few that I need to catch up on. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, Alligator Rules, Grizzly Rules, check both of those out. And then yesterday I had a comfort movie day where, Casey, it's true, we have 0 viewers now after my Children of the Corn rant.
See, they all ran away. Like, this guy said the new Children of the Corn movie rules. Nope.
Come back, listeners.
Come back. We're talking comfort movies.
Yeah, we're talking
which
comfort
I think the new
now.
Children of the Corn might be thrown into Sam's comfort movies pretty soon.
It's 100% going to be a comfort movie. I've almost thrown it on again since we watched it. It hasn't been that long. So, yeah, yesterday I cartooned and had just some of my favorite comfort horror movies on in the background all day. So I did a quadruple feature of Monster Squad, which rules.
Yep.
Dracula's staff has little jumper cables for Frankenstein, and that never ceases to crack me up. I love it.
Wolfman's got nards.
Wolfman's got nards. The ending still makes me cry. The Frankenstein, please don't go. Like, it gets me, man. Like, I was sitting there on the couch, I was weeping. I'm like, yeah, this movie has no right to be as sad as it is right now. I watched Halloween 3, which is the best Halloween sequel, and also has one of the best endings to any horror movie ever. I love it. This movie is just tremendous. It's a 5-star banger. Everybody should check it out. Even if you are from like the 80s and you remember it being the one without Michael Myers and you're still stuck on that, go into it anyways. Just watch it. It's so good. Mm-hmm. Friday Part 2, my second favorite of that franchise. It's just a classic. Ginny's the best final girl in the whole series. She's tremendous.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. I really do. I think like Amy Steele's great in this role. Yeah. And I love Baghead Jason look.
Yeah.
This one, I don't know. This one is just like, Jason Lives is my favorite, but if someone were like, I need the quintessential Friday the 13th, I know it's not the hockey mask, but this is the one I'd pick. But I also don't like 4 as much as everybody else. So there's that.
Yeah, I was going to say the even numbers of the first 6 are like my go-tos of the franchise. Like 2, 4, 6, I think are probably the top 3 in the series.
Mine are 2, 5, and 6.
Well, fair play, but if that's not going to be one I'm going to show someone as like, you need to watch this Friday the 13th movie if you've never seen one.
Number 5.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. It should not be anybody's entry point into the series. No, for sure, no. It's just a personal favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That movie's a very acquired taste, if you will.
Yeah. It's like, it reminds me a little bit of Psycho 3, where it's just like, it really ups the sleaze and just kind of has fun with it. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. And
part 2 rules. Part 2.
Yeah, part 2 is awesome. So after part 2, during part 2, I made a comment to Maria about like, oh yeah, I've shown you April Fool's, right? Like April Fool's Day, because, you know, Amy Steele's in that one too. She's the final girl of April Fool's Day. And I had indeed shown Maria, and she loves that movie as much as me. So we threw that one on to cap our Sunday off. And this movie is just it's a hangout slasher. It's a hangout movie where people get murdered, or maybe they don't because it's April Fool's Day. You never know. And there's a lot of pranks and fun, and Biff Tannen from Back to the Future's in it. Check out April Fool's Day if you haven't seen it. I think it's a really underrated and underseen slasher.
Yeah, that movie. Yeah, again, that movie rules and does a perfect subversion, or does it not?
Yeah,
enough time has passed. We can.
Spoil it. But yeah, So April Fool's rules. April Fool's Day. I should say. It should just be April Fool's. I get why they put the day in, but
every great slasher has to have the day.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
You can't just say Friday the 13th.
No, you can't.
All right.
Is
That's
that
what
it?
I've
Are you
been
done?
doobie doing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's my doobie doing.
All right. Well, we're going to jump into our main topic then here for this episode. We're going to be talking about the Insidiously Insidious Insidii franchise. We're talking Insidious. 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5. That's
There's
it.
no
That's
6
it.
yet.
That's it for now. That's it for now.
For now. But 5 is making bank, so we know there will be another.
There will be, I'm sure, a continuation of the main storyline.
Yeah.
And I know there is a spin-off coming as well.
Yeah. What's the spinoff called again?
It's
like
something. Oh no, what was it called?
Insidious
spin-off. Thread, an Insidious tale.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's right. Mandy Moore and Kumail are going to be in it.
Yes. So we are going to be getting more Insidious movies down the road. But today we're talking about the 5 movies in the franchise. We're going to kick things off back in 2011.
I thought it was 2010.
Is it 2010? Oh, it is 2010. Why does IMDb say it's 2011? I knew it was 2010 too. What are we doing?
IMDb is like...
Why are we going off the Canadian releases? What? It's saying April 1st, 2011 in the United States on here, but it's a 2010 movie. I don't know.
That's so weird.
I've always associated.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, I've always associated it as a 2010 movie. Either way, this movie, according to IMDb, was released in the United States April 1st, April Fool's Day, of 2011. Here in the United States, this is the first.
We missed our segue.
We missed a segue. No, this first movie is written by Leigh Whannell and directed by James Wan. Stars Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, Ty Simpkins, Lynn Shay, Leigh Whannell, Angus Sampson, and Barbara Hershey.
Now, Casey, you mentioned the name Leigh Whannell twice. Does that mean he pulled double duty?
Double duty? Yes, he did. Leigh Whannell did. Leigh Whannell was kind of this one feels like his baby. I know James directed the first 2, but this definitely feels like Leigh Whannell's baby.
Yeah. It's weird to say this because this one definitely feels more like Leigh Whannell's franchise because even after Wan exited, Whannell stayed with it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
In some capacity in all of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like James produced it, but we all know that like sometimes producing is, not actually being there. I don't know what kind of producer James is. He produces a lot, so I assume
he's not. Yeah, he's not there for every movie.
Yeah. So it's weird to me, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it's weird to me that like this is Whannell's franchise and the movie that he directed himself is probably the weakest link in this.
It is the weakest one.
Yeah. And it's weird to say that, but like I have theories that we'll get to when we talk about that movie, which I still liked. It's just not as good as the other ones.
No.
Yeah.
So we're here talking about the first movie, Insidious. What do you remember the first time you watched this one? The first movie?
Actually think I double featured this one with Sinister in a dorm room.
Okay. That's a good double feature.
It is, but at the time I didn't like either of them.
Okay.
I don't know what it was. Like maybe I just was not feeling this vibe that night, but it was just like I don't know. I was very frustrated. I remember being kind of just like Insidious was okay, but Sinister frustrated me to no end because I'm like, he's not turning on any lights in his house. And I was a little tipsy and I maybe got fixated on the one thing for like the whole movie. When you're like in an altered state and you're just kind of like,
why doesn't he turn the lights on?
Yeah. And it ruined the whole movie for me. Yeah. Since Sinister is now one of my favorite modern horror movies. I love it. And Insidious is growing on me. I'm still not blown away by this movie like everybody else, but yeah, every time I've rewatched it, it's like I find a little bit more to appreciate anyways.
Yeah, this movie.
When did you first?
This was a high school movie night movie.
Okay.
I believe it was at one of my friends' their parents' house in their basement. I believe is when we watched it. I don't think it was
the
at
best place to watch horror movies.
Yeah, and it wasn't at my house, I don't think. But I've watched this movie so many times. This is probably one of my most rewatched horror movies ever. Mm-hmm. Not just modern horror, but just ever. And the reason why is because I find this movie, one, I do find it very rewatchable. And two, I also find it is one of the very few movies that still gets under my skin to this day. Whereas, something you'll watch one time, you'll get your scares out, you'll watch it again, and you're like, okay, I'm fine. This movie still just, I don't know, there's something about it, there's something insidious about it. It still gets under my skin when I watch this movie. And the second one still has that. Not as much the any of the other sequels, but it's probably just the time in which I watched them, because at that point I was very early into my really getting into horror, and this was kind of one of those gateways into other movies, because I know I watched Saw around this time, Insidious, starting to get into the franchises like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Scream, stuff like that. And I remember going to, I know I'm jumping ahead, but going to the theater for part 2, just because the first one is so associated with our friend group of a movie we all really, really loved. And this is a movie, again, I probably watch it once a year for sure, and still find it utterly terrifying. I love the story. I think the reason I really go back to this franchise, though, as a franchise overall, is because of the concept. I love the concept of the further. I think it's the smartest thing the franchise does, and does something completely different, because we're looking back at 2010, 2011. What's coming out for horror around that time, even into the sequel 2013?
Yeah. It's not. It's before it's before the A24 craze hit.
Yep.
You're kind of on the tail end of the super brutal remakes.
Yep.
And it's almost, I don't know.
You're in the Paranormal Activity era of and the possession of blank blank. Or haunting of blank. You're in that era of it's a supernatural entity, and this movie is that. I mean, there's no denying it's a ghost movie.
Differently than most of them.
And far more interesting than most.
Mm-hmm.
I had this conversation with Dakota, actually, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, too. This movie isn't necessarily a haunted house movie. I would still consider it in that genre more than anything else. Is this one of the best haunted house movies ever?
I think you're asking the wrong person, because I like the concepts of this movie.
Yeah.
So on concept alone, I think yes. I just don't think Juan is, I don't know. The story moves a little slow for my liking. The central mystery, all of that. It takes a lot of time to just set up
and I guess the hard thing for me too is that I lump 1 and 2 together.
See, and I don't, because I only watched 1. The rest of these were first time watches for me, right? So that might be part of it. If I lumped 1 and 2 together, I might, because I think 1 and 2 work very well together.
Yeah,
I think these are very and to that end, I think 5 works really well in tandem with those. Mm-hmm. 3 and 4 are kind of their own thing, but I think there's still fun ways that they weave together. But 1 and 2 really just click. I think 2 is a more entertaining movie.
Yeah, I will agree. I agree with that. Yeah. Because 2 takes the concept that this movie's, that the second half of the first Insidious sets up.
Yeah.
Really, the final act is when you get into the further and you're kind of exploring some of the stuff.
Yeah, some of the best parts. I love everything in the first Insidious. everything set in the demon's lair, where like
Yeah.
Patrick Wilson is trying to get Ty Simpkins out. Incredible. I love that sequence.
Yeah.
And there are other ones throughout that movie. Like the first tiptoe through the tulips needle drop is utterly terrifying.
It's terrifying. And that's the scene I always think of like that. That's maybe top 5 scariest scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah, if you were compiling like a list of some of the scariest scenes in movies, that's a contender easily. Yeah. Because it's the way it's shot, the way it's revealed, the way Roseburn runs back into the house and there's just nothing, and like everybody's kind of skeptical. I know that that's a trope. I do appreciate that the first Insidious, it doesn't lean too heavy on that trope though. Like the wife being at home getting haunted and not being believed.
Yeah.
Right? Sorry, I just went a mile.
No. But I also think that helps with the rest of the franchise too. What I find very interesting is, I mean, obviously there's comparisons between this and The Conjuring. James Wan and Patrick Wilson being the connecting threads between the two.
Yep.
I prefer the character of Josh Lambert to Ed Warren, but I prefer the relationship of Ed and Lorraine to Patrick Wilson and Roseburn.
Yeah, I think that's part of what doesn't work for me at the beginning is like the family is so disjointed. And like, I get that that's also like, that's the way it's written. Yeah.
And shot. The movie's very much, it's shot handheld. In the beginning, you're kind of frantic and scattered and all over the place.
I don't know. I know it's because they're not getting their bearings in the new house, but I feel like I can't get my bearings. And when I can't get my bearings in a movie, I get frustrated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why like this movie is a slow start. And then when it starts ramping up, like the scares and the tension and like, I don't know, some of those character moments from earlier on are paid off a little bit more. That's when I really start enjoying this one.
Yeah.
I think it's a slow start, but a very good finish.
But going back to your point, I mean, like I said, this movie kind of subverts expectations or I guess norms of what you expect from a possession haunted house ghost movie. Yeah. Whereas this one, like you get to go to like the ghost dimension, and you get to spend a lot of time there. Also with what you said about the wife where no one believes her and no one believes that the house is haunted or possessed or whatever. This movie then subverts that by the end because you have the disbelieving husband and you realize the reason he's the disbelieving husband is because he's been conditioned to be the disbelieving husband because they don't want him to remember any of this because he went through this stuff as a kid. And I love that, subverting that trope. And I think that's where this really works is that you're setting up your audience to be on Roseburn's side right away. And, when there's I always think of the reveal about halfway through the movie where you see the red handprint on the sheet and Patrick Wilson comes home because he's been, spending late nights at work, grading papers and falling asleep there. And you kind of get that's kind of his first introduction to like, oh no, this is real. This is sort of going on. Still doesn't 100% believe her.
Yeah.
But us as an audience member are on her side. And when we figure out why this is all happening, I mean, it pays everything off.
And the ultimate subversion of like setting it up as a haunted house movie. And then the way Lynn Shay delivers the line is so excellent. But the reveal of like, it's not the house that's haunted, it's your son. Like that's jaw dropping.
It is.
It's really like, yeah, this movie, like, that's what I mean. This movie has so many like huge moments that I love. It's just like sometimes between those movements.
Yep. I get that.
I'm not quite. Yeah. But oh my God, like when it hits hard. And I love that.
I think that's the thing that really sticks with me is really this. I mean, I think every scare in this movie works.
Oh yeah.
It's genuinely terrifying. I agree. Some of the stuff in the beginning is kind of like a little bit meandering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That being said, I want to start with the opening of this movie, the credits for this movie. They're such a tone setter because they're terrifying. These might be the scariest credits in any horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
The music through this entire series, but especially this first movie, is incredible. The sting when the Insidious logo comes up gets me every time they do that.
Yep.
It's terrifying.
These movies have the coolest title cards.
Yeah.
Like some of the best title cards in horror. Yeah, like Evil Dead Rise level. And they don't need to do something cool like Evil Dead Rise does. It's just the combination of the music sting and just the font coming. Like, it's just
in your face.
Oh, yeah. It's aggressive. It gets you on edge before you even watched most of the movie, you know?
And there's things in this movie that you see Juan kind of use in his later movies too, like setting up certain things. Like he sets up the baby monitor very early on.
Yep.
And uses it multiple times throughout this movie. And it really pays off. I mean, even we're kind of transitioning in between the first and second movie just because they go hand in hand. But things that he does in the first movie that don't have any sort of explanation are all paid off in the second movie, and I really love that. Juan is very good at like setup payoff type of things, and I always think to The Conjuring where the kids are playing the clapping game, and then that's paid off later with the mom. I mean, this still has that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's one of those movies where if you're patient enough with Juan setting up the pieces for the first half, the second half is a lot of fun.
Where I think that transition happened. Speaking of Lee Winnell, we talked about him earlier. I want to talk about Specs and Tucker.
Yeah,
because I feel that's kind of the turning point for the movie, where it becomes. I feel like those two getting introduced, and then Lin Shaye pretty much right after, is like a turning point for the movie and for the series, and kind of where they're going to go for the rest of it, where it starts becoming fun and it's having fun scaring you. Where the first half is like kind of this family drama with some scares in it. It starts to become fun with those two, and they're definitely the comedic relief, obviously.
Yep, but they're also good characters.
They're good, yeah. They're very good characters, and they're tone setters for the rest of the movie.
Yep. And they're not afraid to like be scared. They're a little bit like the Shaggy and Scooby-Doo of this. Like you're laughing at them, but you're also like, yeah, these guys are terrified, so I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Like,
and this is their job.
Yeah.
And I always think of like the scene. So there's the scene where it's right before. Right. Actually, is it right at? Yeah, it's right after Lin Shaye gets introduced. If I'm correct, it's the scene where they're sitting at the table and the mom's telling the backstory.
Yep.
So that's right after Lin Shaye gets in, or right before. I can't remember. Either way, the scene. You know, everybody knows the scene I'm talking about. It's where the head pops up right behind.
Yeah.
Patrick. Yep. So for the longest time, that was probably my. I always thought that was the least effective scare in this. And this time it got me. I don't know what it was. I always thought it was pretty effective. I always thought the scene was effective, just not necessarily the scare.
Yeah.
But watching it this time, you're expecting something behind the grandma.
Yeah.
And when it pops up behind Patrick Wilson, it again adds to him not believing what's going on and like a subversion of a scare.
Yeah. It's kind of a brilliant, like, there are a couple moments in this franchise, and I can't pinpoint all of them, where I felt like they were going to do like an Exorcist 3 homage, where there's a long take and there's a hallway and you're just kind of waiting for something to pop out, but they don't pay it off. And there's a lot of like, Juan does a lot of that, where like he'll set up a scare, but it's like, no, that's not what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And he'll wait until you've completely just let yourself go. Like the characters will go on in the scene and it'll be like, as soon as you're like, okay, it's not going to happen, it happens. And it happens in an unexpected way. And that scene is a perfect example of it.
Adam Robitel takes that in The Last Key and really does a good job with that. There's a
Yeah.
scene in a tunnel that we'll get to in that one.
Oh God, yeah.
It's tremendous. This movie, again, one of my favorite scenes in the first movie. I'm just going to kind of jump into some of my scary scenes that I'm thinking of. One is where they show the demon next to the bed, next to Dalton Ty Simpkins' bed, and you just see like his hand like reach over and point to him, and it's so creepy, it's so gross. It's an image that's very iconic to the franchise now.
Yep.
And I mean, rightfully so. That character has come back in, I think, all but one of the movies.
Yeah,
two of the movies. Well, no, only one. He's not in the second one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
because the third one, he has the jump scare at the end.
Yeah. Maybe he's not in the last key either.
Maybe he's not in the last key either. Yeah, he might just be in the odd ones.
Yeah.
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 I don't know what they call him, but he's my favorite demon in this whole thing.
At one point, he was called the lipstick demon.
The lipstick demon? Okay.
I don't know how that works. I don't know why.
I don't know.
His
whole mix of like Darth Maul and Freddy Krueger, though, it gets me. I love it.
While listening to Tiny Tim.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when Patrick Wilson goes into the further, this gets under my skin, most of the stuff in here. And there's one where he's in the house, and you see the family in the living room. And it's the mom's like ironing clothes and whistling, or the dad's whistling on the couch reading a newspaper, and one of the like teenage daughters is sitting on the couch. And he walks into the other room, he walks into the kitchen, and you see one of them cleaning a gun. And like he hears the gunshot, looks away, the person's gone, walks back into the room, and you just see the aftermath of that gunshot.
Yeah.
And it's haunting because everybody doesn't move.
Yeah.
And you get to the point where he like turns around and comes back, and the family's just right there, and they're again blank face, and then they all just smile at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
freaky.
It's super freaky.
Yeah.
Again, maybe the best scare of the movie. I don't know. I think the first Tiny Tim is great too. Like, I don't know. There's so many in this movie.
Yeah. I still think that the tiptoe through the tulip sequence
with the little kid.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's so much that I don't know. There's a lot of great scares in this one. I'd say this one's easily the scariest. Like, this is the one that keeps the scares and the dread up for most of it. The rest of them definitely feel a little more popcorn horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the first one is too, but it's got a little bit more to it. I say that, but then the fifth one has a lot more to it too, in my opinion. So
this movie is like James Wan watched the trailer for Maximum Overdrive, and at the end, Stephen King like points to the camera. He's like, "I'm gonna scare the hell out of you." That's just James Wan. He's like, "I'm just gonna scare the hell out of you."
Yep.
And the movie does that, and I love, again, talking about the ending of the movie. I mean, I think there's one cheesy part at the end of this movie with the Darth Maul demon, and he's like running across the wall.
Oh, I love that. I thought that was creepy.
Again, it's maybe the one like 2010 thing that doesn't hold up from it.
Yeah, the effect's a little wobbly, but I still thought it was. I don't know.
I love the hooves. I love that he has hooves.
Yeah,
it's creepy.
And like, jumping ahead, I love in the fifth one how they like age him up.
Yeah.
I just think he looks so nasty in the fifth one.
He does. He looks great in the fifth one. I think he looks better than he does in the rest of the series.
Yep, I agree.
And then also in the third act, we get the introduction to the Bride in Black, which is, I think, I'll ask you this when we get to the end too, who your favorite demon ghost is of the franchise. I think that might be my favorite one.
It's the Bride in Black is good, especially when you get into part 2.
Yes.
And you start to realize what the Bride in Black, like who the Bride in Black really is, and it's like,
yeah. I love the final scare that it leaves us off on. Again, we haven't even talked about her yet. Lynn Shay, she's incredible in
Mhm.
this. We get a lot more of her in the next couple movies.
Yep. I was shocked. So like I knew she was in like all of them. That's about the only thing I knew about these movies was that Lynn Shay was in all of them. I was shocked when they killed her at the beginning of the second. I'm like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah,
I knew that 3 and 4 happened like prior, so I was like, okay. But like I was like, is she not into? Is she actually not into? And like they do. They
they find a
find
way.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I appreciate this franchise's commitment to Lynn Shay because
Yep.
she's the best part. She
Oh, she
really
is
is.
100% the best part, and probably maybe the biggest regret that they have is they did kill her character off in the first one, but they could find
Right.
ways around it, which was very, very smart of them.
Yeah, it's really easy when you're making a ghost movie to have your characters come back.
Just be a
That's the
ghost.
nice
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love the final scare that it leaves off on Lin Shay taking the picture.
Yep.
I think the only thing I don't like is the flashback. I wish it would have just been. Again, I think this is a perfect movie. I still would give it 5 stars. The only
Mhm.
thing I would change is probably that she takes the picture, and I wish we would have just seen the picture when Rose Byrne picks it up.
Yeah,
And then we
that would have
can
been
still have the
cool.
same ending with Patrick Wilson saying her name and stuff.
Yep. Yeah. And then we get the second one
And then we get
that
the
picks
second one.
right up.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god. I love the second one. I like how do you feel about this one?
Oh, I love this one.
Because before 5, this one was my favorite.
Yeah,
Um
I can see why.
I genuinely like this one is so go for broke bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. There were like interstellar moments where they're time traveling and Patrick Wilson like it's recontextualizing things from the first film, which is also another thing that like all of these sequels do. They like even the ones that are set before still find ways to like recontextualize what you've seen in the
Yeah.
previous movies, and I really appreciate that. I think there's an attention to detail in these
Mm-hmm.
that's very much not always present in horror franchises.
Yeah.
And I think that 2 has some of the most fun with this. Going back to the events of the first one, tweaking things a little bit, and making
Even
the emotional connections between the characters that much stronger.
mm-hmm. And the thing that this franchise, the entire franchise, does very well is when it does flashbacks. It
Mm-hmm.
does them very well because they always lend themselves to the characters and to the
Yep.
scares, which is,
Yep.
I mean, what you need in a great horror movie. Great
Mm-hmm.
characters and great scares. And this movie does that. I mean, it opens up with, I mean, we talked about, or they show it in, or they talk about it a bit in the first movie is, Josh, Patrick Wilson went through this as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
We open with that here in the second one, and we jump
Yep.
right into that that flashback. How do you feel about Lin Shay's voice coming out of the younger actress?
It was a little uncanny, but
Yeah, I like it though.
I
It's
so
uncanny, but like
I liked it
it
in
works.
Venom Let There Be Carnage too. When they have Woody Harrelson's voice coming out of like a 20-year-old kid.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was the best. I think it's campy.
yeah,
And I like that in horror movies. Like I like a little bit of camp in my horror movies. It doesn't have to be like throughout the whole thing layered on thick, but like little moments like that.
hmm
I kind of think that's cool.
yeah.
So yeah, I didn't mind that at all. I thought it was awesome. I love the flashback. I love Juan going back in time. Like I feel like Juan does like period work so well.
hmm
Like anytime there's a flashback or like the Conjuring movies that are set in a different like time frame,
hmm
um, he nails the aesthetic every
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And so like all the stuff that's like flashback is just I love it. This one reminded me a little bit of Ouija Origin of Evil, as in like
Okay.
it takes what the first one did, and even though like I mean, I think Insidious is much better than the first Ouija. I just want to say that now.
I
But
would
like,
hope so. I would hope so.
but I like that. I like that both of these part twos, like Ouija Origin of Evil and Insidious Chapter 2, take what was given to them in the first one and expound upon that and make it better. Like they add different layers to it. Insidious Chapter 2 also, I was like, this movie made me like The Conjuring 3 even less, because at a certain point I realized, like, oh my God, The Conjuring 3 is just I'm sorry, it's a bad ripoff of this movie. Like everything. All the beats in the third act are the same.
Oh.
It's nuts. Like, I'm sorry. I was having deja vu with this one, and I started getting mad at the movie, and I'm like, this one came out a whole, like, 10 years prior.
Yeah, and done by like the guy.
Yeah, and it's done by James Wan, and I was just like about I don't know, hour and 20 minutes into it, I turned to Maria. I'm like, this movie is retroactively making me dislike The Conjuring 3 even more. Like,
also during these flashbacks, do you recognize the mom?
Yes. Jocelyn Donahue, right?
Yes. Yep.
From House of the Devil.
Yep.
And Dr. Sleep. Yeah, yep. Dr. Yep. Sleep.
She needs to be in more horror movies.
She does. She's so good.
Yep.
Yeah. We should do a House of the Devil episode sometime.
We should definitely do one.
Yeah.
Ty West episode.
Maybe that's what I'll pick. Maybe I'll pick a Ty West episode.
All right.
Make you watch X again, because I fucking love that movie.
I like X. There's only one Ty West movie I don't like.
Which one? Is it the Innkeepers one?
Yeah, the Innkeepers. Yeah.
Oh, I like that one. that might have been one that I picked. I get it though. That one's a little bit acquired taste. Yeah. Off topic.
But... Anyway, this movie I love. So this is Patrick Wilson's best performance in the series. Is this one? Part 5 can make I think a running in that argument now.
I think it's part 5.
It might be part 5. I think this is his most fun performance in the series for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. This maybe gives him more to do, like bigger things to do than part 5 does.
Yeah.
But I think part 5 is all about the quiet moments with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Insidious Chapter 2 rules. It's like if The Shining and Amityville Horror and all those just like kind of and like sleep. Yeah, it has. Yeah.
There's the sleepaway camp vibe in this movie.
Yeah. Oh my God. I totally forgot about
all the stuff with the bride in black in this. Parker Crane feels very sleepaway camp. So much so, the mom reminds me of the aunt in Sleepaway Camp a lot.
Oh my God.
It's like an actually creepy version of it.
I had totally forgotten about that flashback until you said that. And I was like, yeah. I even turned to Maria like during that and I was like, have you ever seen Sleepaway Camp? And she goes, no. And I'm like, that's on the watch list this summer.
Yeah.
Because that lady instantly, I was like, she's like the aunt from Sleepaway Camp.
And she's terrifying too. The mom is scary.
That's why genuinely terrifying.
That's why I think the Bride in Black is my favorite demon of the series.
Because of that flashback scene.
Because of the flashbacks, it has they have an interesting backstory. They also have mother problems, which is kind of an essential in horror movies, and has a great look and is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, this movie rules. I love this one. I love all the flashback stuff. I love and it gets campy with the time travel stuff, especially with I don't even know if this one has a name. He's like the one that's very rapey. He's the one that always goes after Rose Byrne. He's the one that kind of looks like Morbius almost.
Yeah. And
he like pushes him. Patrick Wilson does, and he like just disappears.
Yeah. This movie rules. It's just this one is never. It just puts its foot on the gas, and it's just never not. It's never not moving.
Yeah.
Which is something that I can't always say about some of the other ones.
And I do love. I'm trying to remember the character's name in the second one that he gets introduced here.
The old guy.
Carl, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I
He's a
think
good character too.
he's a good character. He's a great introduction, or has a great introduction here, and is great as part of, like, he fits perfectly. It's not like, oh no, we're trying to replace Lin Shaye. Like, no, he fits right alongside everyone in this movie.
Yep. And I love that, like, they kind of connect him and Lin Shaye, and
Yep.
just the way they handle that is really cool. This movie to me, like, it might be recency bias. I still think 5 is, like, spoiler alert, my favorite of this franchise. But it's pretty neck and neck with Chapter 2.
Yeah. The more I think about Chapter 2, the more I like it. And the more times I rewatch it, the more I like it.
It's just fun. Like, I genuinely, like, I had a blast with this one.
I love when sequels take your characters that you said. It's the Empire Strikes Back thing. You know, you have Han and Leia go do their thing. Luke goes and does his thing. This movie does that.
Yep.
Where it sends Specs and Tucker
and Turner. Yep.
with the mom.
Yeah.
And they get to go to Lin Shaye's house, and then they get to go to the old abandoned hospital and stuff. And Rose Byrne gets to do stuff with Patrick Wilson at the house still. Like, and then it all intertwines with each other. I love when sequels do that, especially. And this movie does it perfectly. We have to talk about, I think the scary scene in this movie is when they're in Parker's house. There's some terrifying sequences in there. And the one that I always think of is when they're knocking on, like, the bookcase and they get knocks back. Like, that's such an easy scare, but it's so effective.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's all about the vibe that they have with it. And not only that, but the actors sell it. I mean, you've got, I don't know, Lee Winnell just hams it up in every role. Like, anytime you see Lee Winnell on screen, you know you're in for some, like, over the top acting. And I kind of love that about him. Because, like, the movies that he's not acting in, like, that he directs, like, I'm thinking Upgrade, and I guess Upgrade was pretty funny at times. But, like, neither one of those movies are particularly lighthearted. Like, Invisible Man and Upgrade, they're very serious. But when he's on camera, he just never seems to be serious. At least not the characters he's playing, and I kind of love that.
Yeah, this movie it's very campy, but it's also, like, having fun. Like, it's not like making fun of campy. It's not like making
and
fun
it's
of
not
itself.
Just campy for the sake of camp.
Yeah,
it feels natural.
Yeah, it feels like it's in the universe still.
Yeah, this one doesn't take me out, like, at all. There are no moments where I'm just like, oh, they went too far with that joke, or oh, they, like, everything lands perfectly.
Yeah. I think the comedic reliefs, we get more of Specs and Tucker in this one. Maybe the most of the series. No, the fourth one definitely, but this one has just as much, I think, as the fourth one with them. And I think I mean, if we're gonna do an Insidious spinoff, those two would be great. Yeah, we still have cliffhangers we haven't yet finished, including this movie right here.
Oh yeah,
leaves on a cliffhanger that hasn't been resolved yet.
Yeah.
And they have a modern movie star in that cliffhanger that they can weave into a spinoff down the road.
Yep. Hell yeah.
Which is Jenna Ortega.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was shocked when she popped up. I know it was so funny because you were like, we talked about this. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, it clearly just floated in one ear and out the other, because I was genuinely just like, oh my God, that's Jenna Ortega.
Yeah. So I mean, James Lee, if you're listening, do that spinoff. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Let's jump to the third one here. The one that I probably have the least to say. Written and directed by Lee Winnell. This movie is a prequel to all of them. Technically first in the series, if you look at it chronologically.
Yeah.
But it is sort of not as much as the next one. Sort of origin story, at least character study of Lin Shaye's character of
kind
Elise. And it's a bit, I mean, it gives her, it's not her backstory, but it's where she is at that point in time. Because you deal with like the death of her husband and stuff like that. But it's more so a boring family drama about a single dad and a teenage girl.
Yes. The actors are not doing anything wrong in this, but they are not given anything to do in this.
No.
I got really excited when I realized Dermot Mulroney was going to be one of the leads, especially after I saw him go like full camp in Scream 6.
He does not in this.
He does not in this.
I legit, so I've seen this. I probably have only seen this one once or twice before I rewatched it. I forgot he was in this movie.
This is the one that like I could see myself maybe revisiting the other movies in this series, not this one. And it's not because it's bad. It's just because like
it's funny.
I watched it once and it happened, and it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah. It does a thing where, you know, when we talked about the first movie, we talked about it like subverting expectations and subverting what the genre was doing at the time, especially with like utilizing the further and not being a traditional like haunted house, haunted child movie.
Yes.
This one just kind of becomes a haunted apartment movie.
Yeah, it's just very straightforward, and it's like, oh no, the apartment building is what's haunted. You could probably just move and you'd be fine. Also, the one thing that I loved about this movie, this is gonna make me sound horrible, but I love the scene where the girl gets hit by the car.
It's so funny.
It made me laugh so hard.
So yeah, the demon in this one is like an old man with a breathing mask and an oxygen tank.
Yeah.
Easily the worst
they defeat him by pulling his oxygen mask
easily
off
the worst demon of the series.
Yes.
Hands down. And it's about this like teenage girl who wants to be an actress, and her mom recently just died, so she's trying to get in contact with her and reaches out to Lin Shaye, but Lin Shaye's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this because her husband just passed away and she's experienced things in the further. What I don't like about this movie, again, we talk about the demons in it. I think the one with the breathing thing is okay. He's at least creepy. Like,
yeah.
Old people are already kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Especially ones that have wheezing problems and they're ghosts. That would be terrifying.
Yeah. Especially if that old creepy guy with the breathing problem was living in your vent. It's scary. It's a scary concept.
That is a very scary concept. What I don't like is when the movie's like, no, we're not going to deal with that anymore. Let's bring back the woman in black for no reason.
Yeah. It seems to have an identity crisis. Like, it doesn't know whether it wants to strike out into new territory or kind of go back on the hits.
Yeah.
And it just kind of becomes a little boring.
Yes. I would rather it focused on the newer stuff and being a full-on prequel with Lin Shaye, and this is one of the other cases she's studied before we get to the Lambert family. Instead, we get like her having premonitions of like, this is how I'm gonna die. And the thing for me is like, I always feel like a demon is always attached to a human.
Yep.
You know, you have the woman in black is always attached to like Patrick Wilson. You have the lipstick Darth Maul demon is attached to Ty Simpkins.
Yeah.
They all have this kind of connection to one human.
So why is this one coming after Lin Shaye?
Yes. When Patrick Wilson's nowhere near this.
Yeah. It seems weird. It seems like this is the one where like the continuity of the franchise gets a little messy. It gets a little mixed up in this one. And that's what, but the good thing is about
there was time travel in the last one, so
yeah. There is. It's great.
Yeah.
The thing though about Insidious 3 is even though it kind of screws up the continuity, at least it's super forgettable, so you don't remember the continuity it screws up. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like
it's a movie that just happens.
Yeah, it's and it's got some good scares. I think the final jump scare got my ass. Like it was.
Oh, I obviously, I remembered it. So
Yep.
It did nothing. And also
Okay.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It doesn't, but it still got me. And I was like, hey, it's Darth Maul Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I liked it. There are certain sequences that I found very tense.
Mhm.
The bedroom sequence where the girl's got her legs broke and like he's shutting the doors and the
See, I
windows.
didn't have any sort of.
Oh, that one put knots in my stomach.
I don't feel like there was any setup in that. It just, again, like the movie, it happens.
Yeah, that's
And there's
fair.
no real like ending to the scare either. It just stops.
That was what I was gonna say. Is like it builds this tension, and then it's a little bit like that scene in Skinamarink, where I'm like, oh no, something's happening, and then it doesn't, and I
Yeah,
was
there's
like,
no payoff. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, come on, give me something. Um, so yeah, just not a bad movie. It gets
Yeah.
infinitely more entertaining when like Elise and Specs and Turner show up
Yeah.
and are doing their thing and they're figuring out investigating together for the first time. I
Yeah.
love that stuff.
I
I think
love
the
that
stuff
whenever
with
when Tucker shows up in this series, he has a different haircut every time.
every
He has a
time.
mohawk in this one.
I was like,
He gets a
it
mullet
was
in the
so
next one.
funny. Between these, I was like, did they recast Tucker? And I had to look it up because like the hair threw me. I was like, wait,
No.
what? Why? But I was like, no, that's just the same guy. He's just got a different haircut now.
Mm-hmm. Still eating Hot Pockets though.
Still eating Hot Pockets. I thought they just replaced him with like some rando other guy, and I was like, you can't just replace one of them. Like at least change the character. And then I realized I'm just terrible with faces. So
Yeah, those two are the best part of this movie for sure.
yeah. Oh yeah. They bring levity, but they also bring like it feels like they I don't know. I love watching their relationship with Elise grow, especially as she's dealing with like some very heavy stuff
Yeah.
in the third act of this movie. And I don't know. I love their little scene together at the end where they're talking about teaming up, and it's just.
And it's further expounded upon in the next one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of. I do think again, like the first two, I do think these two kind of go together. Okay, not as well as
Yes.
the first two, but they do a good job of complementing each other. Insidious Chapter 3 and The Last Key. I think they do a good enough job. Let's talk about The Last Key, though.
Yeah. The Last Key rules.
I remember watching, so I hadn't watched this since the theater 5 years ago. And I remember thinking, yeah, that's good. It's not great. I definitely flip-flopped on this movie in part 3. Whereas I'm like, no, The Last Key, like, legitimately rules.
Yeah. Keyface is a terrifying demon.
Keyface is perhaps the coolest looking of all of them.
And he doesn't have keys on his face, which is weird, but his key fingers and like opening up people's like skin.
Far scarier to call him Keyface than Key Fingers.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's probably why.
Javier Botet, who plays like so many different demons and monsters,
he played like 3 different ones in it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of in like the new Doug Jones almost.
Yeah.
Definitely takes on the stuff Doug doesn't do.
Yeah.
This movie came out, like I said, 2018, directed by Adam Robitel, written by, again, Lee Winnell. This movie is a sequel to 3 and a direct prequel to the first movie, kind of serving as the bridge between them. And I think does a really good job leading into the first Insidious.
Oh, yeah.
And also, like, giving us a proper backstory for Elise.
Yeah.
Where, again, we talk about the second movie opens on a flashback. This one does the same, where she grows up in she basically lives on the grounds of a penitentiary.
Of a prison. Yeah, like a maximum security prison where they electrocute people to death. And
so much so that the electrocution in the house, like, shakes her house and makes the lights flicker in it.
And I love this movie for not explicitly saying Elise until like 5 minutes in. I love that it just like trusts you to know that it's Elise.
Yeah.
Because like she she's a little girl. She's drawing on the ground. The lights flicker. Her like brother says something like, "Oh, another guy getting fried or something."
Mhm.
Dad's
And
like,
she
"Death
know
is."
yeah, she knows who it is and rattles off,
Yep.
like, his name and why he was in there and
Stuff like
everything.
she would have no
Yeah.
idea. Yeah. And just I don't know. I love the opening to this.
Mhm.
And it reminds me a little bit of like this reminds me a little bit of the Black Phone, like the relationship between or I should say the Black Phone reminds me a little bit of this.
Mhm.
But like that relationship between a young girl with psychic powers and a father who's very terrified of that notion.
Yeah.
Um and it's haunting. Like, I mean, there's child abuse in the opening of this
Mhm.
that's very hard to watch, but it pays off later in the movie in dividends.
I was gonna say thematically, this is probably the most rich out of the entire series
Yeah.
on dealing with themes, and it deals with themes of family, of the cycle of abuse,
Yeah.
of I mean, that's kind of the big ones. But
Yeah.
yeah, and how I don't know if this kind of depends if you believe in this kind of stuff, but there's always like
There's an
energy.
energy left behind.
Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, the energies that are left behind and how that can create like a, a bad environment or an environment that's going to lend itself to positive or negative things. In this case,
Yeah.
negative things with the house because of its proximity to the prison, because of who lives in that house, who eventually moves to that house, everything like that. And I think this movie does a great job of being a prequel for the Elise character and giving us a full backstory on her. Far better than the third one does. I think Lee probably, I don't know, maybe it was the writing directing duo in that third movie because it was his first directorial debut was Insidious
Yeah.
3. And it
Well,
definitely could have been that.
because he wrote, directed, and he played a pretty big role in that
Mhm.
too. And I mean, if you look at like the two movies that he's done since, he has not acted in them,
Yeah.
and they've been much better, more cohesive.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, to me, they're both 5-star, like freaking bangers.
Yeah, some of
I
the
love
best of the
Upgrade
last
and
10
Invisible Man.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if it's just he's found, like, maybe he's
What
found that,
works
like,
for him.
yeah, as a director, like, I don't think I would want to act in something I was directing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to split yourself between those two. I know there are a lot of people who can do it. Ben Affleck's a
Yeah.
great example, but
But
like,
also he's not shy to act in the things he's written. Looking at
yes,
Saw or I mean all the other Insidious movies that he didn't
Cooties.
direct. Yeah, Cooties. And he's great in all of those.
Oh yeah,
And maybe
yeah.
it's just like he doesn't I don't know, it just doesn't vibe for him to do too much, you know?
Well, and here's the thing too with that is he, like I said earlier, he always plays kind of goofy,
Yeah.
like silly characters. Whereas like directing is not, especially something
Maybe
like this.
his headspace needs to be in the right
Yeah.
place.
It
Yeah.
just I can't imagine how hard it was for him
Yeah.
to direct
Yeah.
Insidious 3 being, like, yeah. Because Specs actually does have quite a few like laugh lines in Insidious. Like you have to be in a certain mindset to have
Mhm.
that comedic timing, and then to also be like switching in and out to like direct.
Mhm.
Maybe he spread himself a little too thin, and that's why it just kind of feels a little level the whole way.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's clearly shown that he can make something incredible sense.
And this one feels like a showcase for the trio.
Yeah.
For Specs and Tucker and Elise together because I mean it's set up right away that Elise gets a phone call and she has to go back to her childhood home. And she's like, you guys aren't coming with me. I need to do this by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And what do? They buy an RV and they're like, no, we're coming with you.
Yep.
You don't have a say in this. And I'm like, I really like that because it does feel like they could have done the movie with just Elise on her own. But it's no, we've already set up that these are they have become a family and they kind of need each other because they are these ghost hunting weirdos that need each other. And they need they need their leader. They need it's a mom and her two goofball children.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's the vibe.
Yeah. I like the introduction of her having a brother as well, and then introducing that the brother has daughters as well that kind of become an integral part. They
One
are far too young to be the daughters of
that guy. Yeah.
Of Bruce Davidson. No, they are the granddaughter. They should be the granddaughters, but
they should be. Yeah. But I don't know. But also, like, Specs and Turner kind of hit on them, so they're definitely like over 18.
Oh, they're in their 20s. Like
they're in their 20s, right? But like he's
like 60.
He's 60 something. I mean, he had those kids when he was 40.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. I love the setup. Like, I love all of this. I love the setup. I love Elise, Specs, Turner doing their investigation thing. I am not gonna lie, man. Halfway through this movie, it takes a wild turn, and it took a little bit for me to get back in.
Okay.
It's not like it was bad. I was just like, it kind of completely changed the whole movie that I was in. If that makes sense. I have a theory about this.
Okay.
And I know this is probably wrong, but I looked up filming times for this. Don't Breathe came out in August of 2016. This movie filmed from August to September 2016. I think one day after a long day of shooting, Lee Winnell and a couple of his buddies went out to the multiplex and bought a ticket.
And Adam Robitel got smashed and went to Don't Breathe.
Yep. And on the way home, Lee was like, we could do a quick write-up and make like a little mini Don't Breathe like halfway through our movie for some reason. But then it falls apart because it's actually woven pretty deeply into the third act. But like, that was my initial thought, was like, what movie am I watching now? Because like, I think it's hilarious that we have, if you haven't been able to see, Gypsy is on my lap, incessantly needing my attention.
You're not just petting your own lap?
No, I'm not just petting my own lap.
Okay, good. That would have been weird.
That would have been really weird. Lost my train of thought.
The Don't Breathe stuff.
Yeah, so the Don't Breathe stuff. I love it. I think it's great. I love that it ties into the third act, and actually, I thought it was a little weird where Lin Shaye was like, my dad did the same thing, and I was just like, this seems like but they kind of explain it with the demon and feeding on the fear and the loathing and the hate. I
had remembered, there's kind of two twists in this movie.
Yeah.
You get the first one with it's Ted Garza. And this guy, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's in a bunch of TV. I always think of him as a TV actor. And he always kind of plays a sleazeball type of character. So immediately when you see him show up, you're like, something's up with this guy. You know that right away.
Yeah.
He's not the brightest guy either.
No.
Invites 3 ghost hunters and gets pissed off when they investigate.
Yeah, he gets mad when they go down to the basement, and it's like, well, the ghosts aren't just hanging out in your living room, man.
Yeah, ghosts usually hang out in basements, dude. Yeah. And they find the actual real life girl chained in the basement. I remembered that twist. I would say that's sort of a twist.
So I had no idea that was going to happen, and I was like, what the hell? And the even bigger what the hell came the moment that Specs kills the guy by throwing a bookcase on him.
He goes full Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween Ends and dumps a bookcase on him like he's Michael Myers.
I was gonna say High Tension. Have you seen High Tension?
I have not seen High Tension.
So High Tension is like, well, no, wait, this came after High Tension. High Tension was the original beheading by bookcase death. Okay. It's gnarly. Seance also does it.
It's the original is Boy Meets World, and then there was Sean.
Oh yeah, the books.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I'm not the expert on bookshelf beheadings, so don't come at me if High Tension was not the actual
the OG.
Yeah,
the OG bookshelf beheading.
Just comment, hey, you should check out this movie. Yeah. Don't
called the bookshelf beheading from 1932.
Yeah. Directed by Todd Browning.
the like second twist where Elise's dad is like revealed like no, he actually had a woman, multiple women chained up in the house and killed them,
and she
that's
found one
yes
the day that she left
and thought it was a ghost.
Yep.
Because she had believed so much in what her dad was saying of you're seeing things that aren't here.
Yep.
When in reality, like she should have looked at the reality of the situation. It's such a great twist in the end of this movie. A
haunting one. Like
it is very haunting.
This hits hard for PG-13.
Yeah.
I was genuinely shocked about halfway through the movie. I checked the rating because I was like, did they go R with this one? Because I know you don't see a lot of blood, but the bookshelf beheading is pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm. This entire franchise makes me wonder why the Conjuring movies are rated R.
See, I think the first Conjuring, I should say the first Conjuring movie, to me, is scarier than any of these.
Yes. I don't think that's enough for a rating.
I don't either.
This movie's too scary. It has to be rated R.
I think the rating system, dude, you know me. I think the rating system is bogus.
It is.
But like,
if any of the two franchises, if you had to pick, which one's the rated R one and which one's the PG-13 one?
Insidious.
Insidious is the rated R one, and it's the one that ended up being PG-13. There's a scare in this one where, again, Adam Robitel does such a great job of setting things up and then paying them off. And he sets up Mr. X as well, where there's this like tunnel in the basement, and you have this fan, and it's like, oh, something's going to happen with that fan. Nothing happens with the fan. And then you get all these suitcases that are kind of pushed away in the back of the tunnel. And he does it like 3 times before he pays it off too.
The suitcases are just
where you have Lynn Shay looking through the suitcases, and it's the same shot back and forth. And it's
she opens
this
it,
is the time.
You think when she closes it, it's gonna be there.
Yep.
And he does it like 3 times.
And then I think it's the 4th time she opens it and it comes out of the suitcase, and it's incredible.
Yep. Oh, it actually, like, that one actually got a yelp out of me. Like, I made a noise because when it
you're expecting it to pop up behind the suitcase. It just comes right out of it.
Yep. It was, oh God, just brilliant scare. Brilliant scare. I love it.
Yeah, this movie's incredible. I love the 4th one. I think I gave it 3.5. I guess we can, at the end, we can maybe talk about our ratings and rankings and stuff. But yeah, this movie's incredible. Go watch The Last Key.
Yeah. The Last Key rules.
And does a great job of tying in, like we said, to the first movie as well. Has a few, like, in the further type of things. The only thing I don't like, I guess, before I do want to talk a lot about 5. But the only thing I don't like in 4, in the 3rd act, is I find it very cheesy, the stuff with the whistle.
Oh, so I like the whistle stuff.
The whistle setup, like the mom will come if she hears the whistle, because that's what she gave the young Elise's brother when he was young. And at the end, instead of like just blowing the whistle herself, the granddaughter or the niece, not granddaughter, geez, the niece throws Elise the whistle instead of just doing it herself. And the mom shows up like she's Captain America at the end of Avengers Endgame to banish the demon.
So it's
very cheesy.
I love schmaltzy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like as soon as she tosses the whistle, I knew where it was going. But I was like, yeah. Ghost mom gonna show up and save the day.
I'm trying to remember the line that Lynn Shay says at the end of the 3rd one. She's like she's like, "Get out of my world, you bitch," or something like. It's something like a badass line. It's like coming out of Lynn Shay. It's hilarious.
Yep. I think that's what she says. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's a great line.
Right, Sam.
Okay.
You ready to get into the red door?
I'm ready to talk about the best Insidious movie.
Spoilers for the red door.
Yes, actual spoilers for the red door. So, if you want to go into it completely clean, I don't know, off the cuff, I think we both liked it quite a bit. I think we recommend it. For me, it was my favorite of the series.
Before we let people go, let's give our ratings on all 5 and rankings, and then we'll jump into the talk.
That sounds good.
How about that?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember what I gave the first Insidious.
Okay, I'll go off mine. The first Insidious for me, I give it 5 stars. I think it's all-timer horror. Second one, I give 4 stars. Third one, I give 2.5 stars. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's bad. It's just kind of there. Last Key, I gave it 3.5. I'm leaning between 3.5, 4 stars. I think it's probably more in the 4 stars for me. Really like that one. Same with this Insidious. I think I gave it 3.5. Probably leaning towards this is going to be a 4 star. Need to rewatch both of these again because one of the reasons I give the first 2 movies such high ratings is because I've seen them a million times. So I feel like when I rewatch Last Key and 5 soon, they'll both get bumped up to 4 stars. Rankings 1, 2, 5, 4, 3.
Okay. I think mine's going to be a little different.
Yeah.
I gave the first Insidious 3.5 this time. Insidious 2, 4 stars.
Yeah.
I love that one. Insidious 3, I did give 3. Probably more of a 2.5, but I like Lee Winnell. I'm gonna give him 3 stars for it. It's
a solid
more competent.
Movie.
Yes, and it's a straight up popcorn horror. It's teen popcorn horror.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything more than that. It's not anything less. I'm sure if I had been a teenager when I watched it, I would have dug it. Mm-hmm. So, The Last Key I gave 3.5, and then Red Door I gave 4.
Okay.
I think both chapter 2 and 4 have the potential to go up. I mean, I think the first one does too. But as far as my ranking right now, I would say The Red Door, chapter 2, Last Key, Insidious, and then the third one.
Okay.
But that said, 4 of those movies, I would definitely 100% recommend.
Yeah.
The third one, I feel like honestly you can skip it and you're not going to miss much of the overarching story.
There's enough meat on the bone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much. So, you're not gonna get a full meal out of it, but there's enough there. All right, Red Door. Let's jump into this. What was your expectations before getting into it?
I heard that Patrick Wilson sang a song with Ghost at the end.
Okay, and he did. That's the only. So I watched the first trailer and I listened to that song. That's about all I knew. I
saw the first trailer once in like theaters, and I think I was with you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh yeah, that looks good.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know if Lynn Shay was in it. I didn't know if Lee Winnell was in it. I didn't know. Well, I knew the Darth Maul demon was going to be in it, but I didn't know what capacity we're telling this story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I went into most of these sequels pretty blind. Like I said, I knew 3 and 4 centered around Lin Shaye and were prequels.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all I knew about any of these sequels, including the 5th one. I didn't read any reviews to the 5th one. I didn't watch any reviews. Like, I knew next to nothing about the 5th one going in. I just heard about the Ghost song because I love Ghost. And everybody was like, oh, Patrick Wilson sang a song with Ghost. And I'm like, that's rad. And it was totally rad. It was rad. A great end credits song.
Mm-hmm. This movie, again, does something I think the great, I'll call them great Insidious movies do, especially sequels. They give backstory. And backstory to characters that it matters. It adds to the character, adds to characters, adds to the scares. And I think I've said that already, but I'm going to say it again. Adds to characters, adds to scares. That's where the third one lacks because it doesn't add either of those. Really? No, it gives Lin Shaye a little, but again,
character-driven movie.
This one is perhaps alongside The Last Key is the most character-driven movie of the series.
I would agree. I think it's the most, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. This one,
in terms of like where they are in modern times, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because this movie takes place. I mean, it takes place in. I think it takes place in 2019.
Yeah, so
it says 9 years later.
Yeah, so present-ish.
Pre-pandemic. Maybe they'll do a pandemic Insidious.
Ooh,
I'd be all right with that.
Another ghost who can't breathe. Smart.
Yes. They're going to bring back old man.
Old man.
Old
Oh,
man who
God.
can't breathe. But no, this one, I was kind of surprised that this is the route they were going with, where it is Patrick Wilson and Ty Simpkins, Dalton and, oh my gosh, Josh. They are kind of estranged a little bit right now. Patrick Wilson
Very
and Rose Byrne
yeah.
Have gotten a divorce. We're not sure how much time has passed since then. Josh
seems like it's pretty fresh still.
Yeah, within the last like year or two.
Yeah.
Not like right after the events of the first two movies, more of like relatively recently.
Like they grew apart and recently have just Yeah,
and we open with the funeral of Barbara Hershey, of Patrick Wilson's mom, in this.
That made me really sad. I was kind of hoping that we got some of her in this movie, which do we get anything with her ghost-wise? I don't think so.
No. I was actually hoping we'd get like Jocelyn Donahue to be the ghost.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Dang
but
it.
Anyway, they didn't do it.
Missed opportunity. That's why it's only 4 stars.
Yeah. This again, like we set up the character and we get more of Josh's backstory in this. We get to go back even further into his childhood, because it's sort of alluded to in the first 2 movies that obviously his mom was a single mom, and that all he really said was like he just didn't have a dad growing up.
Yeah.
Could have been divorced, could have just left, whatever. We find out the dad dies before he's ever born, or as he's born, like, within the same time.
Yeah, what I find I love the like we've said, the subversion of his dad didn't leave him. His dad actually had the same gift he did.
Yep.
And it drove him insane to the point where, well, no, it didn't really even drive him insane. It's just that people didn't believe him. And he died. Yeah, a little bit of both. Essentially, he died trying to make sure that wouldn't happen to Josh. But obviously it did, and it happened to Josh's kid. And this is definitely following that modern trend of horror, the whole like trauma horror, right? That like David Gordon Green's trilogy was like, has just become the template of like trauma horror. David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Trauma horror.
That doesn't deal with any of that though.
No, but it's the one that everybody says
it tries to. It thinks it is.
It doesn't do it as well as Insidious the Red Door.
Yeah. Or Midsummer.
Yeah. So
or Hereditary.
I do like the themes of like, the cycle of trauma, the cycles of abuse, which like we've circled into those like in The Last Key, right?
Yeah.
Kind of dealt with the same themes. I just think this one expounds upon those a little bit better.
It does different things.
It does it differently. Yeah.
Whereas this one, where it's like, obviously the message of this one is like, don't try to bury it. Don't try to forget your past. Don't try to forget how you're different from other people. Embrace
Remember the bad with the good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
the bad shapes you as much.
Yeah, and there's a very positive message behind it too.
Yeah.
This is definitely a Ty Simpkins led movie, which I was also kind of surprised by.
He's the lead role for sure.
Yep.
And he carries it well.
Yeah. I was a little worried because I haven't seen him in a whole lot.
He's been weirdly absent from at least the mainstream recently, I feel like.
I mean, he was in Jurassic World, the first one.
Yep.
Obviously Iron Man 3, and then like a cameo in Endgame.
Yeah, which probably besides those standing in front of a green screen.
Yeah. and that wasn't too much. So obviously within the last what was Jurassic World 2015. So 8 years.
Yeah.
Probably went to school and stuff like that. Good for him. But it was nice to see him come back. And what I do like is Patrick, again, this series does pay attention to details. And this is Patrick Wilson's first effort as a director in the franchise, written by Lee Winnell again. I think he had a co-writer with, I'm not sure who the other person
Scott Teams.
I don't know.
Does that sound right?
Not sure.
Okay, so Lee Winnell did the story. Scott Teems did the screenplay.
Okay. I think he has screenplay credit too. Lee Winnell does. At least what I saw in the credits. Maybe not.
Does he?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm sure he does. But I think Patrick Wilson does a great job of, again, connecting the entire overarching story of the Insidious franchise into this.
Yep.
And one little small thing that really stood out to me is just the way Ty Simpkins looks.
Yeah.
His hair.
Yeah.
He has the same hair as the Darth Maul demon.
Yeah, he does. It's like little subconscious things. Things in Ty Simpkins' wardrobe were like, I love the last scene we see of him. He's wearing color. He doesn't wear color for the entire movie leading up to that.
The entire time.
Black or gray or something. And it's just, I don't know. I'm a sucker for stuff like that. I'm a sucker for the attention to detail. And like something like that's a little on the nose, sure. But like most movies can't even be bothered to do that kind of thing anymore.
They also set up, like, even from the first two movies, they set up in those that he's a bit of an artist. He likes drawing and stuff. And they expound upon that in this, where he's still grown up to do that. And now he's basically
going to art school.
Yeah, he's going to art school. Also, they also set up that his college roommate, or the girl that eventually moves to the dorm upstairs or whatever, she's a musician. And also tying that into the Rose Byrne stuff of this. So the mom was also a musician and played piano.
Yep.
Just a little stuff. It's not really played upon too much in this one, but it's like character stuff.
It's like it's mirroring the first one, but not in an obvious like J.J. Abrams way.
Yeah. It feels relevant to the characters and to the world that it's building, and it's not like shoving in your face like, remember this. It's like, no, this fits within this world, and this is what this character would do.
And it's brilliant because the whole thing of the movie is like history repeating itself. And here you have, Patrick Wilson's son falling for a musician. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's a nice parallel. And I love the relationship between those two. I wasn't sure where they were going with it. Like, I was like, I hope they don't like go overly romantic with this. I don't think this movie needs it, and it didn't.
No.
Like their relationship being the platonic friendship that it was perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. I applaud this movie for not doing the like
cheesy
third act
romantic
kiss or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I was just
he has to go save her because the Darth Maul demon takes her to his lake. Yeah. It doesn't do any of that.
Yeah, and that's something I so appreciated. I just want to say too, like it baffled me. Like it shocked me, is a better word. It shocked me when I went online and saw reviews for this movie that were not,
I don't get them.
Because we're not talking like people aren't just like, oh, this movie wasn't good, or like, oh, this was okay. People are calling this one of the worst, like the worst movie in the franchise, or one of the worst movies ever. And I'm like, what movie are you watching?
Yeah.
This is like, I don't know. To me, like I was very emotionally wrapped up in this. And the point that the movie does do a full J.J. Abrams and like kind of recreates a scene from the first one in the demons, like in the demon realm with Patrick Wilson and Ty Simpkins. It feels organic to the movie. It feels natural that we've reached that conclusion, that we've come back to this place. Yeah. And so I really like, I don't know. I just genuinely, I was shocked when I saw that people weren't responding to this one very well. Because to me, this is easily like, it's the one that I think I was invested in all the way through the most. And I don't know. I really love this one. I think it's one of the best studio horrors to come out this year.
Yes, I agree. This is going to easily be in my, for sure, top 10, maybe top 5 of the year. What I loved is like stuff even I, as like a major Insidious fan, thought of. Like obviously I love this series, but I didn't think in my head to think about how the kids would react to Patrick Wilson trying to murder them in the second movie. I didn't think about that because I'm like, oh no, he's possessed and it's not really him. And it's like, no, they're kids. They're not going to understand that. Rose Byrne does.
Especially as young as they were when that happened.
And I like how any other franchise, like you said, like a J.J. Abrams type of thing, would only touch on stuff in the first movie. Whereas this one touches on things from the entire series.
Yeah. And it feels more natural and organic. There's not, it's not like, it doesn't introduce like new characters to like move the story forward. It just focuses on like this family and the repercussions of something that happened almost a decade ago.
And how like you're still in that universe and how all the characters are going to react to that. Because I mean, you look at what Ty Simpkins is painting. He ends up painting a picture of the scene where his dad has a hammer over him as a 10-year-old child.
Yep. And it's like, I love all the art sequences in this.
Yeah.
Like every time Ty Simpkins starts to paint, it always gets kind of trippy. It always gets a little psychedelic, and it's always nerve-wracking. Like every time he's in art class and the teacher's doing the countdown, like this is when you're, pencils up and whatever, or pencils down and whatever. It's like, oh God, what's going to happen this time? Like, what's he going to draw? What's going to come at him? Like, is he gonna have a meltdown in the middle of his class? Like, there's just so much tension because they also add in, like, one of the things I love about the art class scenes is they add in the tension of like, the teacher's a hard ass.
Yeah.
Like, she will kick you out
if
worst. You are not up to her standards. And so like the whole time I'm like, oh, I don't want Ty Simpkins to get kicked out of this like art class because, demons are trying to, mess him up. That'd just be like salt to the wound, man.
But it also does a good job of like us as an audience member. We know what a countdown in this series leads to.
Yes. Yeah.
Like we know as soon as you reach 1, you're in another plane of existence. But the characters don't know that yet. Because they do it for Patrick Wilson too. When he's in the MRI machine, which is arguably the scariest scene of this movie.
That scene rules. It freaks me out so bad.
Claustrophobic. You're not, again, subverting where the scare is going to come from.
And then it's not even a quick shot when it pays off. Like it pays off, and then the demon keeps crawling at the screen for like a good 2 or 3 extra seconds, and it's just like, most movies would cut away and leave it up to the imagination, and sometimes that's better, but sometimes you need to see the demon crawling at you, and this is one of those times, and it was terrifying.
Yeah, and I also love like how they connect the other characters into this. I mean, Rose Byrne and the other son aren't in this a whole lot. They get a lot more to do in the third act than anything.
Yeah.
But I also love how they're very much intertwined into this story too. Because, the reason Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson got divorced in the first place is because she didn't know how to deal with him not knowing how to deal with his memory loss, not knowing who he is, basically losing an entire year of his adult life, not knowing what happened. And them not knowing, and her not being able to tell him what actually is going on, because that would be far worse.
Yeah.
And then the other son of like, he's in a similar situation as Ty Simpkins of, no, our dad tried to kill us when we were younger. That's not good. And mom's telling us that that's not what happened.
Yep. Yeah. I've heard people say like the audience is ahead of the family on the mystery, and that's what took them out of it. And I'm like, I don't agree with that, because
we're in on it though. It's not necessarily, there's not a mystery.
No. And it's like Hitchcock even said, like, when you want to build tension, you show the audience something that the characters
you show the audience
don't know.
the gun, but the characters don't know that there's a gun.
And I'm like, that's this whole movie, is like, we know what happened in the first 2 Insidious movies, but they don't, and they're gonna walk right back into the same traps again. Like every time Ty Simpkins goes on the astral plane and is walking, even if it's just like to the dorm room upstairs, we're on the edge of our seats because we're like, what's down in his room right now getting at his body?
Yeah.
You know?
We're
It's
like,
terrifying.
what? He's having fun. He's like, oh my gosh, this is cool. I can go
Yeah.
sneak and play a prank on my friend upstairs.
Yeah.
But us, yeah, like you said, as an audience member, we're like, no, there's some creepy looking dude that's trying to get in your body. Get back to where you came from.
And there's the freaky ass shot of him coming back, like after he scares the girl away.
It's definitely something crawling after him.
Yeah, there's like a little devil thing crawling after him. There's like a tail and everything, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Freaked me out. That like, I'm pretty sure that was one of the scenes that I actually made an audible noise in the theater.
The one, again, we talk about great demons, ghosts in this. This one doesn't add any new great ones. I don't know what are your thoughts on the puking one? I don't know what his name is. The puking frat guy.
Fun for a gross out gag.
It didn't feel like it fit with the franchise. That gross out gag.
That's it's like the poison in the coffee and Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
That's a great gross out gag. Hey Matt, if you're still watching, our counter's all over the place.
Or what?
Oh, our view count.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm looking up. It says 0, but Matt just commented, so I don't know if Matt's actually watching. Hi Matt, if you're watching.
What were we gonna say? Puking demon.
Yes. So one of the things I liked about this one is it's kind of a college horror. Like it's very much just like it's teen horror. It's popcorn horror, but it's got a little more to it. And I feel like you like a certain
it's the extremely goofy movie of horror movies.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It really is. So like, I don't know, the puking frat ghost like makes sense to me in that setting. Didn't bother me. I
just don't think it's very scary though either.
Oh, I jump. Okay, so there are different ways of being scared, right? And one of those ways is like put yourself in the shoes of Ty Simpkins, who's getting projectile vomited on. That's terrifying to me. Because it's gross. Like, I don't want that.
I also liked not Timothy Chalamet as the leader of the frat house, too. I thought he was really fun to watch.
Yeah, he was really funny. Oh, my God. His whole...
he looks and talks exactly like Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. His whole thing where he, like, goes into the bedroom for, like, condoms and to freshen up and all that. Yeah. That sequence was so funny. It was such a good,
swallows the mouthwash.
Yeah. It was such a good, like, tension breaker.
Yeah.
Because right up until that moment, you're like on edge. And then he comes in, he does his goofy thing, and you're kind of like, ha ha ha. And then he leaves and they hit you with the scare, and it's just like, ha. I loved that sequence, actually. Yeah. I thought it was great.
The one again, one thing missing in this is the Specs and Tucker. I think we get the one scene where they're watching like a YouTube clip of them. And it was really funny. Because like all their effects on how they show astral projection and stuff is just Tucker's head like just floating in the background. I could have used them in this movie. See, I wish they were there.
That's where you and I think, and I feel like we maybe had this conversation on the way out of the theater, but I don't know how you.
It's just I like them as characters though.
Yeah, I do too. I think they would have. I'm hoping that they're in the spinoff, like front and center.
Yeah. Yes.
But that said, I didn't necessarily miss them in this movie.
Okay. I would have liked them for like the tension deflators, like to come in.
Yeah. Well, Frat Guy kind of became that.
Yeah, but he's not as entertaining as those two.
Yeah, that's true.
Like maybe they're investigating something at the college. And that's why they're already there or something.
That could be funny. Yeah. Just like run into something, be like, hey,
they're at the frat party. They're at the frat party because the kid died there, and now they're hunting that ghost.
and they run into Ty Simpkins, and they're like, "Do we know you?" And Ty Simpkins doesn't know them.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yep.
I still don't think it's necessary though. I don't know if I needed it.
I would have maybe I didn't need it. I wanted it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Specs and Turner are rad.
Yeah, they're great. I liked the use of Lynn Shay.
Yes, I thought so. She was used a little bit more than Tony Todd in like in the new Candyman.
Yeah,
but I felt like they used her in kind of a similar way, where she was like the emotional, like I don't know. I found her little bit with Patrick Wilson at the end very moving.
Yeah.
And if they never made another Insidious movie, I think that is like a perfect scene to end this franchise on.
Yeah.
It made money. There's going to be more, whatever. That's fine. I love the end of this movie. Yeah. I like that it goes for the quiet. Like it allows that family to have their peace.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yeah. Maybe even more so than the second movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I would 100% agree. Because to me, the second movie's like, you're just going to forget everything. Like,
yeah, they could remember. Like, they could have done the third one right after that and they just remembered it or, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and like, maybe it's also because I watched 2 with the knowledge that we were going back to this family with 5, but it didn't feel final to me. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, well, I still feel like this is pretty open-ended, you know?
No, this one is a great conclusion for this family and kind of a nice... I mean, even at the end, you have Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson like, hey, we're going to work things out, I think.
Yeah. Well, now it's all out in the open. They've kind of... I mean, they've aired their baggage. Mm-hmm. I like that. I was really worried at the beginning of this movie when they were divorced. I was like, oh my God, no. Like, part of the reason I was excited to see the family back again is because of Rose Byrne. Like, Rose Byrne's incredible in everything, but especially like these movies, she's very good. I could have used more Rose Byrne.
Yeah.
But also I feel like they gave her enough to do, and she was in it more than I expected after her initial scene where it's like, oh, they're divorced. I'm not gonna lie, after that initial scene, I didn't know if we'd see her at all in the movie.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I didn't either. When she shows up in the third act, it's a nice to see her again, and it fits for the character and the story that they're telling.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not. It didn't feel like oh no, we only have Rose Byrne for one day. It felt like, no, this is the story we're telling, and we're going to weave the other characters in where they're going to fit for the story.
Yep. And I think they did a really nice job with that. She, I don't know, her everything that she has with Patrick Wilson in the third act is really like, it's very touching, and it feels like they're slipping right back into these characters.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't think The Red Door is a perfect movie, but I really think it's like one of the more perfect franchise endings.
Yeah.
And I know it's not like ending, but like I feel like this chapter is closing.
Mm-hmm.
And in that aspect, I think it's just I think it's pretty tremendous. I think it's Patrick Wilson killed it on his directorial debut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and like I said, the end credit song with Ghost is rad.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I guess kind of final thoughts on the entire series as a whole. So far we're going to get more of these.
We're getting Thread.
We're getting Thread, an Insidious tale.
An Insidious tale.
Yeah, just call it Insidious, whatever, Insidious Thread, or whatever, whatever. But anyway, final thoughts on the series. I love this series. It's my favorite modern horror series. Going back and rewatching the first 4 and then jumping into 5, the thing that really stands out to me here, more so than most other horror franchises, is I like hanging out with these characters. Not necessarily hanging out. I like being in the world of these characters. And that's something that's not always readily available in most horror movies, especially like paranormal franchises. Like you look at even the Conjuring series or Paranormal Activity, you're not necessarily there for the characters. Conjuring more so when it's like proper Conjuring movies, you're there for the Warrens.
The Warrens, yeah.
Paranormal Activity, you don't care about any of the characters.
No.
This, it's like 100% kind of the great ones are character driven and following the characters. The characters kind of influence the scares in a way, and vice versa. And I think that's what makes a great horror movie and a great horror series, is when characters and scares can kind of combine into one. You're gonna really fall in love with both of them. Then the closest thing I put it to is A Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's like I love those characters, especially when you get to 3, 4, 5, where you're the characters are definitely intertwined, and the first movie too. That's what really makes them stand out. And then when they're, when you lose those characters, it is kind of defeating. And you're like, oh no, I like them a lot. I wish I could see them again. And that's why I'm glad we got 5. Whereas some of the franchises or modern takes on beloved characters, The Flash, Indiana Jones, it's like, I don't want to see those characters again because they're not going to be the same thing.
Yep.
This is a proper continuation of those characters.
Yeah. This doesn't feel cynical or cash grabby in any way. This genuinely felt like there was a story to tell and they wanted to tell it.
Yep.
And I think like Patrick Wilson coming on not just to act, but to direct this one. I mean, that should tell you how personal this one is for him, because it does, like, for a big studio horror movie, this feels very personal. Like this,
I'm kind of surprised he's not involved with the story or screenplay. Honestly, that's how personal it feels.
Yeah, I was too, because like this feels very much like Patrick Wilson wearing his heart on his sleeve. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I liked it so much. This one to me wasn't just like scary, because it was scary, but it was like, to me, this one is the one that made me feel the most. Like, it was the most emotionally involving from start to finish for me.
Yeah.
I was hooked. I love Patrick Wilson's character in this. I think he's doing incredible work. I think this is his best performance of the franchise. Maybe not his most fun or his biggest, but I think this is his best one. And I think Ty Simpkins just really stepped into the lead role and just knocked it out of the park. It's like, I'm not going to lie. I was skeptical going in. I was like, the last thing I really remember seeing him in any big capacity was Iron Man 3. And he was still just kind of playing the cute little kid that, you know what I mean? Like, and he showed that, he's not that anymore. He's like 100% an adult. He's an actor. He is great at his craft. And I hope he starts headlining more movies, because I'll gladly go watch him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Insidious 6 in 10 years, where Ty Simpkins directs a new movie.
Yeah.
This franchise feels very familial.
Yeah.
So I think that is a definite possibility down the road.
I love movie series that actually keep
the same people behind them. Yeah.
Like, that's the reason.
This kind of feels like the Saw, like Lee Winnell and James Wan saw what happened with Saw, where the studio just got carried away with their series. Whereas this one feels like they're keeping it pretty close, and having, like, I mean, the only person not involved with the first movie that's directed in the franchise is Adam Robitel. Mm-hmm. But he's also very much kind of like Lee and James, where he's a horror guy.
Oh yeah. Both of his escape room movies are very very fun. They're very good popcorn horror, which I feel like
Taking of Deborah Logan is not that.
Yeah.
That movie's terrifying.
Oof, yeah, that movie. I've never watched the whole thing. I've watched scenes from it. It was playing on Shudder TV a lot for a while, and oh my god.
Yeah.
There are moments in that movie that are just burned into my brain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was our Insidiously Insidious, Darth Sidious episode on the Insidious series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, people out there listening, please let us know what your thoughts on the entire Insidious franchise are. What's your favorite? How would you rank the series? That's what we want to know. How would you rank all 5 Insidious movies? And are you excited for Thread, an Insidious tale?
And if you didn't like Insidious 5,
unsubscribe.
Why? Actually, no, don't tell me. I loved it. I want to know why you didn't.
Leave. Sam.
Yeah.
What are we doing next episode? Our audience failed us. No one gave us any suggestions.
No one gave us any suggestions, but...
Come on, Scream Demons. But Sam might have come up with something as we were talking for the last 2 hours and 15 minutes on Insidious.
I'm trying to pick something that so like a lot of the topics that are coming to my mind are because of movies that we talked about and do be doing. And I don't want to do that. I want us to talk about all new movies next time. I think I'm going to go.
Go ahead.
I think I'm going to go like Ty West is one of my favorite filmmakers working today. I know he's got Maxine coming out this year. I know we'll probably talk about that on the podcast, but I kind of want to do a Ty West episode. We did not do the Sinister movies yet.
No. We talked about the first one though on the show. I don't remember which episode because we watched it. I still have not seen it. Yeah.
I still haven't either. I have not seen the second one. That might be a fun one to do sometime though.
So are we doing Ty West movies?
Yeah, I want to do Ty West. I'm not sure what 3 movies. I don't
let's
even
just
know
do
if
all.
it'll be 3.
Let's do all of them.
Do all of them? All right, let's do it.
I mean, we don't have to deep dive into them like we did the Insidious series.
Not the spaghetti western one though.
It was all of his horror movies.
Yeah.
So House of the Devil.
But I'm also adding Sinister 1 and 2 to our episode ideas list. Thank you, Matt.
X, Pearl. Is that it? I mean, segments would be the VHS series, but
yeah, I don't need to watch the VHS series for this.
Yeah,
it's right, my episode.
It's Sam's episode. Damn it. Cool. All right.
So Ty West movies.
Ty West movies. Next episode.
Oh my god! I can't wait to freaking rewatch so many of my favorites.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sam, you need to watch the one me and Kayla already did a Ty West movie on the show.
The Sacrament?
The Sacrament.
I love that movie.
Okay, you've seen it. Okay, good.
Yes. Oh, I've seen that. I didn't see the other one that you did on that episode. The Last Shift.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah. Cool. So Ty West movies next time on the show. Next time on Streams in the Basement. Sam, if they want to listen to that episode on Ty West, where can they pop on and listen?
Well, you can either watch this when we go live on Facebook or YouTube. It kind of changes depending on what our schedules are, but we'll always post on our socials before we go. Otherwise, you can subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and Anchor. And the episodes will be available every
Actually, Stitcher
Friday.
Does not exist anymore.
Oh my God. Yeah, let's take that out of the notes. We're not on Stitcher.
I just found that out today. Stitcher does not exist anymore. R.I.P. Stitcher.
R.I.P. Stitcher. Yeah. You can subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Google, and Anchor.
Yeah.
And you can also follow us on socials. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And did Casey make a Threads?
I did not.
We should make a Threads.
Okay.
We should make a Threads. I'll make a Threads for us.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thread away.
We're
talking all types of threads on here. We're talking about the social media platform and an Insidious tale.
The Insidious spinoff is actually about Mark Zuckerberg getting haunted by the ghost of Elon Musk after he stole his.
I would watch that.
I would too.
Yeah, and then they fight at the end in a ghost boxing match.
Yes.
In the first.
And Jesse Eisenberg reprises his role from The Social Network.
Yeah. And Christopher Mintz-Plasse plays Elon Musk.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. There we go.
All right.
Is that
I think that's
Is that it?
We pitched a movie, guys.
We pitched a movie. Insidious thread. Zuckerberg versus Musk.
Well, if you're still listening at this point, know that we love you. We're really glad that you listened to our show.
And until next time.
Thanks for tuning in.
And sweet
screams.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.